Mine is a shock and an appeal to the President, Kipchirchir William Samoei Arap Ruto. I did not expect people to even think about it. But since they have thought about it, and not just thought about it, they have even gone to an extent of putting it in written. This has shocked me. And I would appeal to our political leaders. We know that you are very selfish. We know that the only time you rush to a topic is when it affects you. But for once, think about people. Or even if you don't think about people, think of this scenario. You are saying that you want to change the constitution so that MCS, members of the county assembly, members of the National Assembly, members of the Senate, governors and their deputy, plus the president and his deputy, should be elected 7 years instead of 5 years. I want you to imagine something. I know you are imagining that with a selfish aim. And selfish you are, because when we were making the 2010 Constitution, we had a very good opportunity to turn the Senate into the upper house. But you did not want that. You placed it in a zigzag way that we are not even sure whether it is the upper house or the lower house or the equivalent house. Sometimes, don't reason from the seat that you are occupying. Remember, those people, those MPs who voted against the Senate being the upper house, if you look at the list of people who became senators in 2013 to 2017, I would not be wrong to say all of them were MPs, or most of them were MPs. So do not reason from where you are. Reason from up there like a bulb. So that in the next election, whether you come back as an MP, MNA, a senator, or even a governor, or even a president, you have already given a very good judgment. I know you are saying that that 5 years is too little. And you're saying it is too little because you say that after someone is elected, we spend 20 months on petitions. Then the following 20 months, you are supposed to work, but you relax. Not only do you relax, you start gathering funds for the next election. And the last 20 months of your term is used to campaign for your re-election. So, telling us that 5 years is too little, that you do not have time to work, is a lie. Let me take you back to the time before the 2010 election, before the 2010 Constitution of Kenya. We didn't have all these things. We did not have something called homecoming. Now every person appointed everywhere. Even today, if I'm appointed the chairman of any of the board of directors or something, or I'm even appointed an ambassador or anything, I will organize people from where I come from for a homecoming party. You see, these 20 months that you waste on petitions and homecomings are the ones that reduces the period in that. And also, the 20 months we campaign to the... Actually, I am wrong by saying that we spent 20 months petition whatever, and 20 months relaxing, and the last 20 months campaigning. Kenya is the only country, if you want to cure this thing, cure this sickness that is called campaigns. We never stop campaigning. As we are talking now, the day of recording this is 3 weeks to the American presidential election. And it is 3 years to the Kenyan presidential elections. I can tell you that the political environment, the political atmosphere in Kenya, which is 3 years to elections, is hotter than America, where it is 3 weeks, not even 3 months, 3 weeks to election. We should change it. I want to say here and now that I became conscious of elections in 1974. The other elections, I was too young to understand anything. Now, if we look at the elections which were there since 1974, you will find that Kenya, we are used to 5 years election cycle. Once or twice, we have gone there 4 years. But, my friends, you complete 60 months, the following month, you have to be out of that house. Whether we have a Senate, county government, or National Assembly, or even County Assembly, yours is a max. Your contract is 60 months. And let me tell you, there is no way you can get more than 61 or more. If you want us to reduce it to the American system, we can. We are comfortable. After all, we need that every 2 years to have election. In America, those people who are MPs, members of the National Assembly, are called congressmen or congresswomen. Congressmen and congresswomen who are equivalent to our members of the National Assembly, they do go for elections every 24 months. The year 2000, the year 2002, 2004, 2006, 2008, 2010, 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022, 2024. And the next one will be 2026. I'm ready, and I'm willing to support you if you really want to be as democratic as USA. Place it that the members of the National Assembly be going for election every 4 years. In America, the presidential elections are held every 4 years. So, I do not see why you want to go the French way. And if you go the French way of the 7 years, because you have even come up and said that you want even to create a prime minister and such a thing, that is purely French type of constitution. If you look at the earlier recordings that I recorded, I had set aside time to discuss and say various constitutions, the French, the Westminster, the presidential, and so on. What you people are trying to do, you are trying to bring to us the French type of constitution. And the French type of constitution has only worked in France. Tell me of any other country apart from France which has succeeded. Look at the French-speaking African countries in West Africa. They have failed because the president goes around campaigning for as long as he campaigns. You elect the president, then he goes to the parliament, appoints one of the MPs as the prime minister. And then for the next 6 years, there is a struggle between the Prime Minister and the President as to who is the most senior. And you see, we don't have, it is not good for us or for you to go around the country campaigning to be the president, telling us what you'll do after we elect you. Once we have elected you, you go to the parliament, select an MP from the leading party, and you go back to State House to sleep until you wait for 7 years. We are having a prime minister who we did not elect running the government. And we are having the president whom we elected staying in the State House. That is the French type of constitution. And that is why in West Africa, always the prime minister and the president are always fighting. So let us keep our 5 years. If you are not comfortable with the 5 years, please, mlango iko wazi. You can go. And then let me ask you, you who is fighting to prolong the life of parliament. History in Kenya, and I remember TV stations usually show James Orengo talking about it. He says that when the government eats its own, it eats more than it eats the opposition. And even told the people on the government side that I am a lawyer, and when the government turns against you, you will come and seek for my services. So you can be saying that because you are where you are. And somebody said that if you are making a law, make a law in such a way that you assume that the powers are in the hands of your worst enemy. Because you make a law and you come out and you find your worst enemy with it, he will use that against you. Charles Njonjo, in 1976, when people were saying that they want to change the constitution and get rid of the vice president, they were saying, supposing Jomo Kenyatta dies. And Charles Njonjo did not want to say that. So he used the law by saying that imagining the death of the president is treason, so don't talk about it. People kept quiet. The same treason charge is the one that they started a commission to investigate him for imagining President Moi's death. The good, okay, so don't make a constitution thinking that you're making for yourself, just like Charles Njonjo made the treason charge. Don't. So let us have it the way it is. And the good thing about the 2010 constitution is that there were placed a lot of mitego. Huku mitego, just like, but you see that those mitego are more effective than Gachagwa's. You know, Gachagua had placed so many mitegos in the State House, but the 2010 had placed so many mitegos that you cannot change the constitution. Another good thing about the 2010 constitution is that the replacement of MCS with the councillors. Those days, we used to have a lot of councillors. Let me take an example of Nakuru County, today's Nakuru County. We had Nakuru municipality, we had Molo, Gilgil, and Naivasha town councils. And then we had Nakuru County Council. So there were so many councillors. Now we have less because all of them are answerable to the county government. If you're asking me, I would say we should also relook at the work of a senator. In South Africa, the upper house is contained with council of the elders, something like that, whereby all premiers, you know, every province is headed by a premier. All premiers do converge in parliament as senators in South Africa. We have 4 people in the county doing nothing. We should reduce them to 2. We have somebody called women rep. we have somebody called senator, we have somebody called governor, and we have somebody called deputy governor. Why don't we remain with just two? So that the governor, because we have had problems, and that problem has now come with Gachagua and Ruto, because two people are voted in, and the second person, who is supposed to be a ceremonial person, now thinks that he is the co-governor or he is the co-president. Why don't we make it that in future, the deputy governor automatically becomes the senator, so that the Senate becomes the upper house? It would reduce the number of busybodies. As I finish, I wanted to tell you about election circles we have been having in Kenya since 1974. As I've said, before 1974, I was too young to know what was happening. Even in 1974, my knowledge was beyond my age, just like the talent I had, or just like I'm saying that I'm talking about photographic mind. That is a talent. So I could monitor political things in 1974 when I was 13 years old. How many 13 years old today? Okay, we may have more, because today the IQ of kids today is higher than the IQ of kids during my time. In 1974, we had 3 elections. We had the one for local government, that is county government nowadays, for councillors. That one was on a different day from that one of members of parliament. It is in 1974 in October that it was changed that MPs and councillors be elected on the same day. But prior to that, the 1969 elections, councillors were elected on a different day and MPs were elected on a different day. But in 1974, they were placed there together. Then in 1974, 74 henceforth, up to 1988, MPs were being elected. Then there was a day when people could converge at Uhuru Park. People could converge at Uhuru Park, where anybody wanting to be the president would hand in his nomination to there was somebody who was called supervisor of elections. Who was the supervisor of elections? It was a Mzungu called Montgomery. Montgomery was sacked. Why was he sacked? Montgomery was sacked because there was a rigging plan that happened in Kitale to rig out Masinde Muliro. When they rigged Masinde Muliro out, Montgomery said that they should have repeat elections. That is why he was an expatriate. He was expelled. And he was replaced by Amukisi, who was called, I think, Nyangweso or something like that. So, after the general election, people have been elected, there was a day, the nomination day for the presidential candidate in Uhuru Park. For you to be a presidential candidate, because it was said that once the supervisor of election has approved you as a presidential candidate, then you would go out campaigning for the presidency. But how were things? The law had said that KANU is the only political party in Kenya. At first, in 1966, KANU was a de facto single party state. And then later on, through Kibaki's influence, KANU became a de jure single state party. What is the difference between de facto and de jure? The difference is, like now we have around 30 political parties. Suppose all of them just dies, and it remains only one political party. Then in that situation, we will have only one political party, and Kenya would be a one-party state de facto, which comes from the word in fact. In fact, it is just by fact. But when the law is passed that we will only have one political party, then it becomes de jure. De jure. Jure comes from the word jury, that is to do with the law. So, this is the situation where the nomination of the president, first of all Jomo Kenyatta and then Daniel Arap Moi, people used to go to Uhuru Park. KANU would, KANU as a party could not nominate 2 or 3 people. It could nominate one person. So they would just stay at Uhuru Park up to noon, a few minutes to noon. Kenyatta or Moi would hand over his nomination. After handing in his nomination, the supervisor of elections would wait until noon, and then he would look left and right to see if there is. He would even ask people, "Do you see anybody who looks like a candidate who is bringing his nomination papers?" He'd be told, "No, there isn't." Then he would, they would tell him there isn't. Then he would go and say, since Moi or earlier on Kenyatta is the only person who has validly been nominated to this position, I declare him elected unopposed as the president of Kenya. Then the president would be given an opportunity to thank Kenyans. Hey, usicheke. To thank Kenyans for electing him unopposed. So, 1969 to 1974, those are 5 years. 74 to 78, those are 4 years, not 5. Why were they placed for? It is because Daniel Arap Moi had taken over in 1978, a year before elections. No, the elections were held in 1979, but very early. I want to correct myself. 74 to 79, it was 5 years. 74 to 79, it was 5 years, and they held that election. Although Daniel Arap Moi wanted to call an election a bit earlier because of the parliament had a lot of Jomo Kenyatta's MPs, and he wanted them out. But then, from 1979 elections, we were supposed to have the next election in 1984. But because of the Jonjo thing, elections were held. Instead of 5 years, it was held 4.5 years. It was brought up earlier. I can even tell you that the 2 elections, none of them went 5 years. I think each went 4.5, 4.5. Then that was 1979. From 1979, we had 1984. From 1984, yes, we had another one in 88, which was 4 years. From 1988, that is when we had, from 1988, that is when we had 1992. And then we have been having it 555. So to correct myself as I complete my recordings, 1974, the next election was in 1979. Those are 5 years. From 1979, we had 1983. 83, those are 4 years. From 1983, we then had 1988. Those are 5. 88, we then had it in 1992, which is 5 plus something on top. So we have been having 555. Viewers, especially President Ruto, don't even imagine that. I know Ruto will say that MPs and senators is an independent arm who can do the things according to what they want. First of all, I don't think they can change the number of years without having a referendum, but I know if supposing Ruto tells me that no, I cannot dictate to the legislative arm. We know what happened to the finance bill and we know what happened to Gachagua bill. So the finance bill and Gachagua bill are not combined, are not even a tenth of changing over to 7 or whatever. Sincerely, I know that some of these things were brought by NADCO, and that was to please Raila. Now that Raila is not there, we have nobody to please. Let us move on. Because the history of Kenya has it that this elder brother of mine would haragania things up to until his morale is taken care of. Now that he is not there, now that things are cool and whatever, let us make a constitution that is not meant for creating posts for at the official opposition leaders, you prime minister, having so and so in mind. No. Actually, Pentagon, the creation of 5 positions, or is it 7? The president, deputy president, prime minister, 2 speakers, those are 5. Chief justice, those are 6. To represent the 7 areas of Kenya, let us move out of that. Let us, just like Gachagua is trying to create a Mrima, let there not be regional leaders. Let us have national leaders, and let us have the constitution as it is, since you don't change a good thing. Thank you.